The gentleman has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Pak to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House of Representatives, I rise today in support of HB87. To continue on what Representative Cassis said, I could even go further. I am an immigrant. I'm a first-generation immigrant in this country legally. I rise today to speak on the rhetoric surrounding this debate. There's been much misinformation regarding what this bill does. Specifically, I want to talk about the opponents of the bill claiming that this bill legalizes racial profiling. With all due respect to those who disagree with sponsors of this bill, the statement that we're legalizing racial profiling is preposterous. Let me initially note that the opponents and the rhetoric surrounding this debate has characterized and confused the issues by calling this legislation somehow anti-immigrant. It is not anti-immigrant. They fail to distinguish between what is an illegal immigrant and legal immigrant. Of course, the purpose is not a good one. The purpose is to couch this legislation as something that the Georgia legislature in the state of Georgia is somehow targeting people who are here legally. Let me be clear. The bill does not create a state law crime for someone who's here illegally or someone who's out of status. But that's what's being perpetuated out in the world and also in the papers that we're receiving. I ask you, as a member of the immigrant community, please stop, because it is intentionally or unintentionally inciting unnecessary fear in our communities and the public at large. I think I could pretty much say this, that no one in this chamber, no matter which side of the political aisle that you're on, wants racial profiling. It's a bad thing. When you ask the people that claim that this bill increases the chance of racial profiling, you ask them what provision does that, they can't cite you one. Specifically, the proposed statute outlaws racial profiling. How much more clear could we get in sending a message that we're not going to accept racial profiling? Unlike the Arizona law, and there's this rhetoric out there calling this bill an Arizona copycat, there is no language like Arizona bill in House Bill 87 allowing a police officer to stop somebody based on reasonable suspicion. Unlike the Arizona law, there is no state law equivalent crime making it a trespass for someone to be here illegally. I implore you to just read the bill. It provides clear guidance on the police officers and law enforcement exactly when they can investigate the status of the person and exactly when they cannot. They also claim that it will discourage immigrants from reporting crimes when they're victims or witnesses. The bill, once again, specifically addresses this. It says when they're calling as victim or witnesses, the police cannot investigate the immigration status of the person calling. How much more clear can we get? But of course, if you read the minority report, it overlooks that back and undermines that specific language in the legislation. Above all, I think the argument that somehow traffic stops are often pretext for racial profiling is an insult to law enforcement. There are good men and women out there protecting us from the danger, and I truly believe that when they stop somebody in a dangerous situation, that the first thing in their mind is whether or not the reason they stop that person isn't because that person is driving while they're Hispanic or black. There might be some bad apples out there, but I refuse to believe that that is the case. There's no facts or logical reasoning backing up the argument that we are somehow legalizing racial profiling in this bill. With no facts or support or even the law, all you have is rhetoric and political theater. Let me close with one story that I have. I served for a pretty long time as a federal prosecutor in the United States Attorney's Office here in Atlanta, Georgia. By virtue of that position, I had the honor and the opportunity to preside over a naturalization ceremony. And I made the motion to make all the individuals who waited the long years to become citizens of the United States, and I made the motion for them to take the oath. We also took the oath when we were sworn in as state representative. We must defend the Georgia and the United States Constitution. All this bill is doing is protecting those values that we have. I ask for favorable consideration of Chairman Ramsey's bill. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentlemen.